Hello everyone, and welcome to the joy of building. Today we will be making a little bit of a German style castle on a hill. Like, castle might not be the right word, maybe more like a palace, like something from the Renaissance times. Like, it's old but not like 1,000 years old, so from a time where everyone was trying to show off how cool their castles looked and how good everything looked, but not quite a time where people would have to have really thick walls to protect their things. So, first of all, we're starting off by making a bit of terrain, as per usual. We always start with a bit of terrain because that's just where we set our scene, where we can decide what goes where, and well, basically it's the basis for your build. So first of all, we're gonna have a couple of flat areas to our build. Just checking if it's aligned. No, we need one more block. Oops. So we want one main island thing over here. This is where our main house is gonna be, main building, main castle. We're gonna have a little bit of a tower over here. And then a couple blocks lower, maybe down here, we're going to have just a little bit of an entrance, maybe a garden or something. Nothing too fancy. Maybe like a park bench, a fountain, a tree. You know, just some decorations. And we're going to have a path running from the lowest island with a bridge going to the middle island. And then there's going to be a bridge from the main building towards the tower. Alright, so I'll quickly fill in these islands, layers, slabs, whatever you may call them, and I'll meet back with you in a second. Alright, so while I was at it, I also made the islands 2 blocks thick, just to give it a little bit of a shape. Actually, I don't want these blocks here, because now we're going to be working on our terrain itself. So, as you might recall from previous episodes, I like working with like cliff-like terrain, but since we're going with a German-style Renaissance era building, I don't want just straight cliffs, because for those of you who don't live in Europe or don't have spent or haven't spent a lot of time near Germany, there's a lot of hills, but not really very tall mountains. At least not in the area I want to build from. So we just want some foothills, like rolling hills, you know? It's just gonna be nice and cozy, and I want to have it feel like home, you know? So no scary cliffs this time around. We're just going to have some hills. So try to make it a little bit steep, but not too steep. We still want some stone, like 2-layer stone, because we're going to go all around our hills like this, and we're gonna have a little bit of a river in between here, by the way. But the river is just gonna go where the earth isn't, so, or where the hills aren't, so that's just filling in the blank with some water. Making a river not too big of an issue. This time we're working with normal water again, so I'm not making too big of a deal out of the river, it's just there. But so I'm just going to go all around with my stone, and while I'm doing that, we can maybe start thinking about how we want our little castle. I think castle is the best term for it, but it's not like really a fortress, you know. It's not gonna be something that can withstand a lot of troops. What we want for today's build is just some kind of palace, more like it. So it's going to be on the middle height hill over there, and I think I'm going with it kind of a green and wood theme. I'm also going to use some stone, some gray tones in there, maybe some andesite or some stone slabs, kind of the usual building materials. Alright, so this hill is taking quite a nice shape, if you ask me. So we're going to need to do that for each of our hills. Just go around the outside and make it hilly like this. Just use stone for now, and then later we're gonna put on some grass, and well, if you're feeling really fancy, you can also put on some cobblestone instead of the normal stone in certain places. And as always, don't spend too much time worrying about each individual block on your hill, because if you do that, you're just gonna end up wasting your time, and it's going to look too forced. It's not going to look very natural that way. So right now I can see I need a little bit more of an angle over here, so I'm just going to move it out a bit and then move it up, and like that we have a nice angle, I think. So the angle I'm going with is about 2 blocks down and then 1 over, and sometimes 1 block down, sometimes 3 blocks down. But most of the time 2 blocks down, 1 block over, and that's kind of the angle I'm going with right now. But of course, if you're building along, it's your own build, you can make any angle you want. Just as long as... I wouldn't say you have to be consistent in your angle, because having some variation in there makes for very interesting builds. So you don't want... Again, don't make it too forced, don't make it all the same angle exactly. Just place blocks whenever you feel like there should be a block there. And sometimes I work downwards, sometimes I work upwards. Sometimes, like down there, I see that I want to have a little bit of thing, a little bit to the side, and I place a couple blocks to the side, and that's just the way you do it. It's just you gotta get a feel for it. So if you've never done any terrain, doing terrain like this is usually, in my experience, more time consuming than the cliffs we've done on the other episodes. But I think it's easier to do, because it's just kind of like one angle. Alright, so there's one hill done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go along the entire hill and just place grass blocks whenever I see the top of a stone block. So over here I see the top of a stone block, replace it with grass. Right there I don't see the top of that block, but I do see the top of that one. So just go across the entire hill, replacing the top of each block or the top block of stone everywhere with grass. And we should have a nice hill. Very green, but the stones should still give an impression that it's still a substantial hill. Like it's not something you can just walk up. It's actually quite steep. So the stone will give that illusion, and the grass will make it seem very alive and green. Because again, the area of Germany I'm thinking about, I don't even know what the area is called. Kind of in the west southwest of Germany, not too far south, middle, I should say. The middle west of Germany, there's a lot of hills, and it's all very nice and green, and you can make some nice bicycle rides there, and it's all very beautiful over there. So I'll show you from a little bit backwards, and we get something like this. Now I see that this bit is a little bit straight, so I wanna maybe change it up a little bit. Make a little bit more blocks over here and push that one down a bit. And then again, replace your stone with grass. And now it looks a little bit more natural, I think. So I'm making quite a lot of progress on the terrain. I've done that hill almost entirely. I still need to fill in the grass. But right now I'm running into, well, not really a problem, but I'm running into something. These hills are kind of close together, which is pretty good, because what that creates for us, uh, which creates a lot of depth to our plot, is, well, right here it connects, but if I were to extend that, it would end right about over there. So what that does for us is it makes a nice place for our river to flow, which might not seem like a big deal, but actually it's really nice to have actually basically nothing be on the same level as the standard grass of your plot. So that's something that's really handy, and I'm just making it a little bit more flat at the bottom than it would be if I just continued my hill, uh, just so that it's a nice place for the river to flow. It's not too sharp at the bottom. Uh, and that way we can also make it flow this way. There's going to be a little bit of a stream flowing through here as well, going down there. And that's gonna meet up with the river in the intersection, if you will. That ain't right. So again, if you've never done any terrain, don't be too afraid of it. Just go with it, see what works, see what doesn't, and if it doesn't work, you can always change it later. Just build over it, remove blocks, add more blocks if it still doesn't work out. So, for example, this bit, I'm making it a little bit steeper because I can't have my river flowing upwards too much. Probably going to have it go up one block around here, maybe like this. But that's because this little bit is going to be a little bit wider, and then there's going to be a lot of pressure on the water, so it's okay if it goes up 1 or 2 blocks. Well, 1 block. 2 blocks would be too much for a river this size. So it's like almost a little bit of a lake down here. Actually, we could make this a bit wider and it will actually be a lake. That sounds like a good idea. And then let's open it up a little bit more. And that way we have a little bit of space over here. Alright, so I'll continue making these hills, and I'll meet back with you guys when I'm ready to put in the water. Alright, so the hills are done. Well, done. I still need to put in the grass, but I prefer to put in the water first because I don't want any grass underwater. And again, I'm putting in some barrier blocks because I don't want my water flowing out. Most of you won't have to do this. I just have to do it because I'm working on a plot, but it's not really a plot. Anyway, if you want to add more detailing to the hills, just take some sections and replace the stone with cobblestone or gravel. And if you have a couple of those sections, you really start adding a lot of detail and attention to your build that most people wouldn't, and most people includes me because I'm going kind of fast in these builds. So alright, put in the water and remove some of the grass. Actually, putting in the grass first is a terrible idea, but I just wanted to show you guys what it would look like. Alright, we can have some water over here. And make sure that as you go along, you make your water go slightly down every now and then. So over here I want my water at this level, but it's running down because it's a river. It's gotta have some flow to it. Yep. So actually I'm going to make this bit over here a little bit lower, if you don't mind. So it really makes it look like the river is flowing and it's not just a bunch of water down here. Alright, alright. Oops. Alright, and I want some water up here, so let's start down there. And this is just a little bit of a stream down there. And it meets up with the river like that. Nothing too fancy, but I think it does make a difference. How do I update this water? It's always a challenge to make the water flow exactly the way you want it, so sometimes you need to add a little bit more water. Oops, don't want to make a mess down there. And if you were to spend more time detailing, I would not have this go straight, I would make it go a little bit more curvy. Alright, so that's enough of that. Another thing, by the way, I want to show you. The top over here, it's very flat. Oh, and I still need to put in the grass, I almost forgot. So there's going to be grass down here, but not too much underwater. I'm not going to bother with the stuff I already put in place. But the top, it's kind of boring, so sometimes put some grass blocks one block down. It doesn't change too much, but it makes it a lot more interesting because looking at it, it looks like it's just a flat top, and I don't want a flat top to my hill. I want an actual hill. All right, some grass over there, and so I wanna have a bridge. I wanna work on the bridge first, going towards our main castle. I'm just gonna call it a castle, okay? I'm not gonna bother with proper terminology because I simply don't know the proper terminology. So we're gonna start with a bridge towards our castle, and we have different heights to our bits of land. So where the bridge begins is a little bit lower than where it's gonna go to, which makes for on the one hand it makes for a challenge, but on the other hand it's a golden opportunity to make the bridge a lot more interesting than if we were to just make a flat bridge. So basically we're forcing ourselves into making the bridge not flat, which is a great way to give your build a lot more character by simply forcing yourself to make things not flat. Flat things usually aren't very interesting. So our bridge, we're gonna give it a little bit of an arch, and we're gonna have a roof on our bridge, so it's actually like a proper entrance. Oops. So we're gonna use some andesite, some wood, some stone brick walls, and I'm just going to fix the land over here a little bit because I've said it before. Moving the grass down a little bit in some places gives a lot more character to your build. Makes it more interesting. Alright, so as I said, andesite, stone walls, we might even use an anvil, some spruce logs, not gonna use too many spruce logs, I already got the circle bricks, some stone bricks. Actually, let's get rid of the spruce for now because we're gonna use it only a little bit and at the very last minute. Alright, so let's make our path. And as I've said before, we're making kind of an arch. So a good way to make arches in my experience is by using something called Fibonacci numbers. And the way it works is you start by going one block, then one block again, then 2 blocks, then 3 blocks, then 5 blocks, and then 8 blocks. And why those numbers, you may ask? Well, it's got to do with the mathematical concept of Fibonacci numbers. And I won't go into full details here, but basically they look very pretty. They can be found all throughout nature in flower patterns, in proportions of certain body parts. And how we find those numbers is very easy actually, because it's as simple as 1 plus 1 equals 2, 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 3, 2 plus 3 equals 5, and 3 plus 5 equals 8. Anyway, we're going to have some pillars along our bridge, and gonna have one block in between each pillar. And our bridge is an even number of blocks, so we're gonna have to move these pillars. Yeah, let's move one block over here. Don't want to dig too deep into our terrain, so let's just pretend that's part of the terrain and continue our pillars like this. You can make it work by having an even number of blocks, by having the middle section be somewhat special, but I'm not gonna bother with that today. And then in between each pillar, I'm just going to put a slab like so. And then I want to connect the pillars or the slabs to the pillars by having a row of slabs on top. And these ones over here, I'm going to have to put a stair to connect it. And it's not going to be perfect the way they're connected, but it's okay. We can live with it, right? And at the end I want, actually the end and the middle, I want to put on some of these blocks and then make the pillars go up a bit more. Because as I've said before, we're going to make a little bit of a roof on here. So simply put on some more of these stairs and connect it like this. Now, we're gonna do that for each one of the pillar areas, just to have it connected nicely. And simply have this connect to over there, and we can't have stairs everywhere, but we can at least do it something like this, where we have one block, then a full block, then 2 slabs on top of each other, and then another stair. And it may not look the best, but hey, what can you do? Sometimes you gotta work with the limits that Minecraft gives you. So another block, 2 slabs, and then continue with the stairs. And then the middle section. We're just gonna continue our slabs over there. And whoops. So I think that was a slab, yes. And just kind of slope it downwards, so I think we want slabs over there, and then we can make it go down like that, and then have one over there. And to make it easy on myself, I'm mainly using slabs for this bit of the roof, but again, this is not perfect the way I'm doing it, but hey, what can you do? Alright, so now, two things about this bridge so far. It's not done, and it's all pretty colorless if you ask me. So we're going to think about what we're going to do with the top for a little bit while we work on the bottom. So at the bottom, I know for sure I want some blocks in here. I'm choosing quite a dark type of logs, and I'm putting them horizontally because I kind of want them to be a shadow in our bridge, kind of give it some depth. And then I don't want to see them from the bottom. I just don't want to see that. So I'm just gonna put some slabs in there. Put a row of slabs up there to cover the entirety of the log. And simply continue like this. And keep the dirt there because it doesn't really matter. Alright, we've got our logs and we can put some of these down here to give it a little bit more depth. You can also put something like fences, normal fences, or who knows what else. There's tons of things you could do. And I wanna then just connect my bridge to the land. Give it a bit of curve, like it's actually supporting your bridge. And actually stick it into the land. And same on the other side. But it's gonna be a little bit further over because that's just the way the land is formed. And it doesn't really matter if one end of the bridge is in the water and one end of the bridge is sticking in the land. In fact, I see a lot of people build bridges that are just in the water entirely, and I mean that's totally fine. It doesn't really matter. I want to test something. Maybe if we connect some of these walls like this, it gives it a little bit more sturdiness. Yeah, let's do that. And then connect it up like this. Gives it a lot of sturdiness and makes it look like it's a very strong bridge. And also it gives it some depth. So how are we gonna fix the color issue? So one thing we could definitely do is, well, since we're going with a green-ish theme for our build, we could, for example, but we can't place it over there because that's a half slab actually. But we can put some green blocks like this in the bridge. And that gives it some color. We could also replace these with some more colorful blocks. I'm not gonna do that though. Yeah, I'm just not gonna. We could also just put in some lights. So we could put some glowstone over there. Now I don't really like the glowstone texture. So what you could do is put in some what you could do instead is put in some sea lanterns. But there's a hole in our bridge over there. How did that happen? You can put in some sea lanterns, but I think the sea lanterns don't really work too well with the trapdoors on it. So that's why I prefer using glowstone. You could also find a place to put some torches in your build. But as I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of torches, so I don't like doing that. And you can also put some of the end rods. I think they're in here. Yeah. You can put some end rods maybe like over there. But I don't think they give very much color. But this gives us some wood tones, which is kind of what we're going for because we want wood and need to finish this. We want wood and stone and greenness all working together in our build. Now I don't like the texture of these, so I'm just gonna put some buttons on there. Little things like this can make quite a big difference in your build. Some people won't even notice the buttons on there. Some people will go crazy about the fact you put buttons on there, so it's something I like doing. Again, gives a little bit of depth and makes the texture a little bit less chaotic. Alright, so this was it for part 1 of this episode of The Joy of Building. Next episode we'll be working on a little bit of a castle, I guess you could say. Again, it's not really gonna be a traditional style castle. But we're gonna build a castle over there, a big watchtower, and a little bit of an entrance garden, maybe a park, you could call it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Joy of Building, and I'll see you guys next episode, next part of this episode. Bye bye.